I don't know if we didn't.
So that's really interesting about the school as well. Yeah, the centre of the community coming in and
definitely, it's a place where if they were to go outside, they're not as confident. It's like they come here. If they were to go to college, they see that as it's a burden for them. Whereas the school that brought the children in, and you know, they've seen it as somebody's here to help us, and the family members are happy that they're in school, whereas if they're going outside of school, they're seen as something else.
And again, with this model about visits, the fact that the visit is supported by a leader, that you meet at school and you return to school, they're all you know, safeguards really, to reassurance to the both the students and the family that people are that the experience is facilitated by the school, not by strangers.
I'm not sure it would have happened otherwise, actually.
No, it couldn't. No,
but that group of learners wouldn't have gone, I don't think.
They wouldn't.
Some of them might have done, but
I don't think so, because like when we have any events in school, they do feel confident to come in. Whereas if I was to say, oh, we'll do it down at the children's centre, that's another barrier. They would say no.
With the school, they feel safe, they feel comfortable, feel supported.
It was a shame we didn't have the facility to get to the children's centre. We had hoped to do that, to build that confidence as well, but it can happen in other settings. Abida, the other great thing about working through the school is there are all kinds of other existing partnerships which can be called into play as after courses end, there's still relationships, there's still knowledge of need and other people that can step in and keep that moving.
I think it'll be interesting actually for the project as a whole to see, because the school has been the sort of like the entry mechanism for it all. It's just interesting to see whether or not the other partners have also had to do that. Now, the Bulgarians with the refugee centre had to do it because that was what they were told, and they had no choice in it. But other people, I think the Portuguese have used the local council who've set up a scheme that people trusted. I think that was the main thing, and with the Germans with the big issue type thing, that was something that again they trusted. So I think that's an important lesson for the project. So I think that's a really good point. So the place of the piloting is an interesting one. You've got all these different places, but the key place was the school.
It was the school that held it all together.
In terms of timing, you were doing a couple of sessions a week, or
two sessions a week. Over 7 weeks, wasn't it?
Yes.
And then encouraging them to do about 5 hours in their own time. That was captured in the spidergram. Just really talking, reading if it was appropriate, listening, and
taking pictures, which they found difficult.
Taking some photos, and just stepping a bit out of their comfort zone, really. And we didn't, that couldn't be monitored and enforced, but it was encouraged, and then they would give feedback to you, wouldn't they, at the start of the next session, things that they'd done.
And you were saying, like on the spidergrams, it was obvious that the family had collaborated on...
Yes, because a few of them have got children in school, and one of the youngsters always comes up to me and says, "How is my mum doing?" And he's so keen. And I says, "She's doing really well, but you have to help her at home as well." So I think the writing on some of them were done by the children.
I think as well it helped to raise their awareness of just how much they knew, because actually having to think about where you use English in your day-to-day lives, someone might say, "Oh, I can't speak any, I can't say anything," but actually when it came down to it, even if it's just watching a programme or, I don't know, talking to the children even, having to actually think about that and capture it, and I think some of them thought, actually I do speak quite a lot of English when I come to think about it.
But, you know, a lot of it was about raising aspiration in terms of, you know, people getting some feedback about the level that they have, that can be drawn out of them, about seeing themselves as people who can learn, and showing their, you know, we wanted it to be on the blog, and, you know, we hoped people would show their faces as a way of saying to their kids, look, mum's learning, you know, we want this as a whole family, we want, you know, I want you to be proud that I'm learning English, I want you to be good and confident in your English, because children whose parents don't speak fluent English, they do have extra work to do to, you know, to catch up and to stay ahead and on the grammar points, and, you know, so, you know, we were really pleased that it was facilitated by the school, because they know that it has outcomes for the kids as well as the parents.
So,
but we do a lot of parenting work with the families anyway. We set up quite a few groups. I run a couple of groups to do a stay and play, where the parents bring the children. That's for 3-year-olds and under. Then on a Tuesday I do a birthday twos, and that's parents coming in with the children. So it's their sort of like social time, as well as playing with the children. And a lot will just, you'll find that they'll sit in the corner and expect you to play with them. And then it's teaching them, it's actually you that has to engage. So slowly the confidence comes.
And your 2 sessions, were they on Mondays and Thursdays, I think, or usually? Or something?
Mondays and Thursdays.
Mondays and Thursdays they were. And how long did they last?
2 hours in
2
the
hours.
afternoon.
From 1 till 3.
To fit with the school afternoon session.
Of course, of course.
And they were used to meeting at that time for other things.
So
for them to progress into this was just...
It fitted in. That's good. I think the descriptions of the target group, I think, are on the blog. You've given the age ranges and
yes, we did, didn't we? I've forgotten that.
So it's a nice spread of ages actually as well, as far as we're concerned. You know.
And parents and non-parents, and you know, I think the thing to stress in terms of the project model, they're not immigrants, as in they're not recently arrived immigrants in the country. Some of them have been here for a long time. Some of them are newer arrivals for marriage. But it's not the pattern of economic migrancy that I think some of the other projects or refugees. You know, we've got a settled community here, and one of the complexities across Kirklees is when you've got settled communities who, despite college courses or WEA courses or voluntary courses, still not accessing and progressing in their English language development, and you know, government funding comes and goes to it, but you know, to have another chance to engage pre-entry level that college and WEA can't usually fund, you know, it's really
quite unusual actually.
Unusual and important in these communities, where if the funding always goes to new people, you know, this existing community.
Very good point.
It was
important feedback, that.
Part of why we jumped at the opportunity to be involved, because it gave us something that we know is needed that we often can't fund and facilitate. So
it'd be interesting to see how that plays back with, because I will play this back in the Sophie meeting with the other partners, because I think the Germans and the Portuguese, I think, were dealing with longer established communities as well. So I just wonder if that's but that's a really important point, and it's very good for the project as well that this is meeting a gap in the market, so to speak.
It's a huge gap.
Needs to be disseminated as well.
That does indeed.
In the UK to the powers that be.
It has been disseminated to the powers that be.
People in different countries communicated via Facebook. They don't use Facebook in quite a lot of
lots of places don't uncomfortable with it. Skype maybe.
But then Skyping with groups is very problematic.
I think also the whole technology thing. I know when I've taken people out on trips before and I've tried to get one of the learners, you know, said, here, you have the camera, And they said, oh no, I don't want to be bothered with that. It's just an extra thing to do because they feel by being in charge of taking the photographs that they're not actually taking part in what they're doing. Do you know what I mean? So it's one thing to actually go and speak English. It's like an extra thing to then be responsible for taking
recording
pictures.
it. Yeah.
Also timing. Because I don't think there was enough time to actually plan. We were sort of like,
meeting twice a week, and we were all in the summer term before Ramadan, and
and transport as well.
Arranging the transport. I think. We didn't. And on the back of my experience of this project, I could say to her, take them to the library, get them to show you what you have helped them learn. Put it into practice, and she did, and she said
just need to see the possibilities. And I think actually, especially within the WEA, where unlike an FE college where you're in a team of people and you're hearing about what other people do all the time, you know, so somebody might say, oh, we had a fantastic trip, you know, to such and such a place.
It was straightforward.
And somebody would say, oh, yeah, that's a good idea. In the WA, that doesn't happen so much because everybody's working very independently, and it's rare that all the tutors get together. So any way that you can disseminate that, and the other people can see what, you know, what each other are doing and how easy it is.
Brilliant.
I think another thing about critical points that I do think needs feeding back really is that we've got a group, and Abida did an absolutely fantastic job as a mentor, as a facilitator in that session. But Abida came to that role with a lot of skill and ability, and I think that if this project model was based on that peer mentor almost being that blank sheet of paper, someone who hadn't had training, who hadn't had support,
or didn't know the group, doesn't have experience of language, you know, Abida's got a lived, you know, multilingual approach to language already. She's not a trained ESOL tutor, but she's got a language understanding which, you know,
had we had to create a group of 12 parents, it would have been a different story.
Yeah, if it had been delivered by someone who doesn't have language experience, I think it was a hugely ambitious project to take a mentor from the community that hadn't already had. I don't know how the people were building in the training of that mentor within your project model. Because, you know, Abida had Judith and I on hand for conversation and support, but she's done her petals training, she's led groups in school, she came with a lot of skills, and I think it's because of that bedrock other great things happened.
And also it's very much so everybody, no exception.
I wasn't surprised because I'd been out with them, and you could tell just walking down the street with them that they had a little bounce, didn't they? I mean, some of them they love meeting new people. Margaret, myself, Judith, you know, some of them particularly, they loved the attention of it. They loved the chance.
They felt they were a bit special, I think. Actually, didn't they?
And they did, you know. I don't know if they'd have talked about it in terms of, you know, Abida taught me this. But they were all able to participate in that evaluation session with so much more confidence than they did in the first session where we met them and tried to sort of establish what they were interested in.
Well, they were actually talking about language in that last session, weren't they, which they didn't at the beginning. They were actually coming up with examples of what they'd said, which they didn't.
And they were using their language to describe what they'd done, you know.
They were.
I liked it at the park, or you know, because they
had so many that used to come to the courses. One of them just actually walked in. She used to come to all my classes, and she's actually working as a teaching assistant. And then we had another one who had problems at home, and you know, slowly the confidence comes up, and they do come and ask.
And it is from starting points like this. You know, those. You know, there was talk around the table of jobs people want to get over time from this group, and things that they are going to do with their kids now that they haven't done before. You know, going to that park. Some of them use it a lot. Some of them had never been before. You know, the museum. Some of them had always walked past it, but had never stepped foot through the door. So, you know, I think it really did meet their needs in terms of feeling that confidence to access all those different places in their local community. Your petals, and you and I had talked about you being a WEA tutor, and you felt you weren't quite ready to take that formal, you know, formal step into that additional work from me. Do you think that working with me in this more structured way gives you an insight into what it's like to tutor for an organisation?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, the expectations of the of the planning and the preparation and the feedback and so it's, you know, good partnership over time.
Yes, definitely. He's brilliant. He's got that trust in you. He knows you're not going to waste time.
Yeah, exactly.
He just leaves you to do it.
Yeah.
Which is, if you ever want to do the planning for me, Judy.
Okay.
Are you still continuing? How many? I was going to ask you later. How many are continuing with you, and how many have gone on to the other ESOL?
Not at the moment. They won't go on to the other one because I think we've already had a couple of months with them.
Oh, right.
So they will continue.
Because I thought there might have been two.
There was
I think there's
three
already who are definitely ready, but I think it's just giving them a push on.
Right, yeah.
So you'll continue with those that need it, and unfortunately the ESOL tutor who was in place to teach in September is not now available. So we've got a delayed start on our ESOL class, but there will be an ESOL course here at the school as soon as possible. So we will be looking for 2 or 3 of the higher level students to come into that. So that will happen. It's just the timing.